How exactly does a 2,500-year-old Buddhist scripture hold the ultimate sociological framework for finding peace in our hyper-connected, AI-driven era? Well, let's get right into it. In today's explainer, we're unpacking the Kosambiya conflict. And honestly, you're going to be absolutely amazed at how a text this ancient perfectly diagnoses the exact same arguments we're having today, whether that's playing out in a corporate boardroom, in those endless debates driven by social media algorithms, or, even right at our own dinner tables.
I mean, just listen to this visceral ancient phrase, stabbing each other with weapons of the mouth. Let that imagery sink in for a second, right? It perfectly describes the toxic discourse we literally see everywhere today. Only now, of course, we're doing it with keyboards, endless Twitter threads, and algorithmic echo chambers. So in the story of the Kosambiya monks, this community had become so completely divided that they couldn't even stand to look at each other. They were totally deadlocked. They'd lost any desire to actually understand the other side, and they definitely did not want to reconcile. It's just a striking reminder that human nature and how we handle conflict really hasn't changed all that much in millennia.
So here's how we're going to break down the Buddha's timeless manual for conflict resolution. We'll look at the Kosambiya conflict crisis, the 6 principles for harmony, the pinnacle of ending suffering, and finally, the 7 paths of the wise.
All right, part 1, the Kosambiya conflict crisis. Let's start with the crisis itself, where these monks were so deeply embroiled in a dispute, they completely lost the desire to understand each other or reconcile.
So when the Buddha actually intervenes in this chaotic situation, he doesn't sit them down and ask, okay, who started it, or what are the exact technical details of your argument? He doesn't do that at all. Instead, he asks this incredibly powerful diagnostic question. Do you offer loving kindness to your peers, both to their face and behind their backs? He completely bypasses all the external drama and shifts the focus directly to their internal state. It's a brilliant psychological pivot. He's basically asking them to audit their own private intentions before they utter another word.
And so when the monks admit, well, no, we aren't practicing loving kindness in private, the Buddha drops a heavy truth. He warns them that their bickering is entirely useless. It's destructive. He basically tells them that without internal goodwill, they're just empty people making noise. Arguing without a foundation of care isn't just pointless, it's a guaranteed recipe for long-term suffering. You simply cannot fix an external conflict if the internal foundation is completely toxic. Make sense?
Which brings us to part 2, the 6 principles for harmony. Let's see how this builds into a highly practical, step-by-step sociological framework for communal harmony.
Look at how beautifully structured these 6 principles are. They're known as the Saraniya Dhammas, and they move sequentially. First, you establish physical loving kindness, how you act. Then verbal, how you speak. Then mental, how you think. And the text really emphasizes doing this both in public and in private. You can't just put on a good face for the crowd, right? Step 4 is about sharing rightful gains. Even if it's just a tiny amount of food in an alms bowl, you don't hoard it, you share it. Step 5 elevates this to shared moral conduct, making sure the community is aligned on ethics. And finally, Step 6 is a shared right view. It's a complete roadmap, taking us all the way from basic daily behaviors right up to profound philosophical alignment.
But out of those 6 principles, one is the absolute foundation. Let's move to part 3, the pinnacle of ending suffering. This core foundation is right view, or ditthi. It's defined as a liberating understanding, totally free from defilements, that acts as the pinnacle of the roof. And I love that the Buddha uses this exact architectural metaphor. Just like the highest point of a building's architecture, the pinnacle is what anchors, supports, and holds the entire structure together. This shared liberating view is what truly binds a community together in lasting peace. Without this shared philosophical pinnacle, all the other 5 principles, your actions, your words, your sharing, they'd eventually just collapse under the pressure of the next big disagreement.
Now we transition from external communal harmony to the ultimate internal mastery required to maintain it. Part 4, the 7 paths of the wise.
The very first knowledge here actually requires using a checklist to inspect your own mind and ensure it's entirely free from negative states. Because before you can be a peacemaker, you've got to run this diagnostic. Ask yourself, are you clouded by sensual desire, ill will, sloth, restlessness, doubt, or worldly thoughts? And look really closely at that last one on the list, contentiousness, or the urge to argue. Think about that desperate, burning urge to have the very last word in a comment section. We've all been there, right? But if your mind is being driven by the sheer urge to argue and win, the text tells us you haven't even passed step 1 of true wisdom. You absolutely have to clear the mental workspace first.
Once that mental workspace is finally cleared, we reach knowledge 2 and 3.
Here, the practitioner directly experiences internal quenching. It's like you can actually feel the heat of the conflict just evaporate into peace. And from that profound peace, you realize that this specific liberating view, this highly targeted method of ending suffering, is entirely unique. You recognize very clearly that you won't find this exact, precise path to absolute peace anywhere else outside of this framework.
And there is just a stark contrast between how ordinary people handle conflict versus the fourth knowledge of a true practitioner. Arguing monks? Well, they're stubborn, they hold grudges, and they absolutely refuse to reconcile. But the noble disciple? They instantly correct their missteps. They immediately acknowledge their mistake, they reveal it openly to their peers without trying to hide a thing, and they exercise strict restraint for the future. True practitioners aren't flawless by any means, but their recovery time from making a mistake is basically instantaneous.
The scripture actually compares this rapid realization to a baby pulling its hand away from a hot coal. The moment you realize you've done wrong or broken the harmony of the group, you recoil from the mistake as instinctively as a baby touching fire. You don't sit there and debate if the coal is really that hot, or blame someone else for making you touch it. No way. You just pull away immediately.
Moving on to the fifth knowledge, this one requires the ultimate balance. It's like a cow grazing while attentively watching her calf. It perfectly captures the equilibrium required in a healthy community. You must diligently graze, nourishing your own mind and your own practice, while simultaneously keeping a caring, watchful eye on your peers. It's the ultimate balance of self-improvement and communal care.
The final two paths, knowledge 6 and 7, require us to listen to wisdom with our entire being. Knowledge 6 is all about giving total, undivided focus and attentiveness when the teachings are presented. You aren't distracted. You aren't silently planning your counter-argument while the other person is speaking. And the result of that pure, unclouded focus is knowledge 7, which unlocks a vast, boundless, and profound joy. You gain a deep meaning and understanding that literally floods the entire mind with a sweeping gladness.
And by mastering these 7 knowledges, the practitioner achieves a permanent spiritual milestone known as the fruit of stream entry. Now, this isn't just a temporary truce or some fragile band-aid over a conflict. It is a complete, fundamental, internal transformation, ensuring they will never again fall into the trap of bitter division. They've essentially cured the disease of conflict at its absolute root.
Which brings us to our final, powerful takeaway for this explainer. True world peace doesn't start with the world, and it certainly won't be solved by better technology or more advanced AI. It starts with examining our own minds. The Buddha's lesson poses a massive challenge to all of us today. Are you still fighting with weapons of the mouth? Because before we can fix the loud, chaotic conflicts out there, we have to look inward, disarm our own words, and cultivate true internal harmony. So what's the first weapon you're going to put down today?